Imagine this. You're sitting across from her, her eyes soft, her smile innocent, her voice calm. But inside, you feel it, something subtle, almost invisible, shifting your behavior. You start speaking slower, doubting yourself more. You lose the sense of control, even though, on the surface, everything looks perfect. Most men believe that manipulation is always intentional, that it's a game, deliberate, strategic, cold. But the truth is darker. Often, the woman doesn't even know what she's doing. She's not planning, she's reacting. Instinct, emotion, energy. And yet that instinct can reprogram your mind. It's not about malice. It's about attraction, survival, and power. You think you're choosing, but more often, you're being chosen on a level where logic is useless. Insight 1. The energy of scarcity. When she becomes a rare currency, her attention, her warmth, her replies, your brain turns into a hostage. You start chasing her not because she's special, but because she's become scarce. Scarcity, the oldest control mechanism. Your mind can't handle loss. And the less she gives, the more you invest. Insight 2. The frame of guilt. She never demands anything directly. She just hints that you've changed, that you're less attentive, that you're not the same anymore. And now you're explaining yourself, justifying yourself, trying to be that guy again. Your confidence dissolves, because now you're playing a game where the goal is to win her approval, not to be yourself. Insight 3. The emotional mirror. When she's angry, you feel guilt. When she's sad, you look for what you did wrong. When she's silent, you rush to fill the silence. She doesn't control your choices, she controls your emotional state. And whoever controls your state, controls your reality. Insight 4. The power of ambiguity. You never really know where you stand. She says, it's fine, but you feel the cold. She says, I'm not upset, but her eyes say otherwise. And now you're decoding, analyzing, adapting. Your brain is tense, on high alert. And a tense mind is easy to control. Insight 5. The mechanism of reflection. She mirrors you, but softer, subtler, smarter. If you're confident, she plays along to test your boundaries. If you're insecure, she reflects your anxiety right back at you. And you lose grounding, because what you now see in her is yourself. But distorted. Understand this, it's not a war. It's not malice. It's biology, psychology, and emotional alchemy in its purest form. She feels when her energy pulls your attention. And attention is power. Where your attention goes, your reality follows. But there is a way out. When you start observing instead of reacting. When you stop chasing and choose to be. When you see not her as a mystery, but yourself as a system of signals, habits, and fears. You take the power back. Not over her, but over your own mind. And then the balance shifts. You're no longer driven by the emotions she triggers. You're aware. You're whole. You're free. Remember, the one who controls his internal state becomes untouchable by external manipulation. And the one who owns himself becomes magnetic to those who crave real strength. Because in a world where emotion is currency, awareness is power. But here's the irony. The moment you stop reacting, she feels it. Instantly. Not through words or gestures, but through vibration. A woman can sense when a man is no longer trapped in her emotional field. And in that moment, the dynamic flips. Now she's the one seeking your reaction. She throws words, pauses, glances, checking if you're still alive. But you're calm, not cold, not detached, just centered. You no longer need her validation to feel whole. And that drives her mad. Because, on a primal level, women are drawn not to those who adapt, but to those who remain stable. To those whose mind doesn't break under emotional pressure. You become the anchor in the chaos. And an anchor always attracts. This is where a higher level of psychology begins, the frame of calm. When you don't fight, don't prove, don't analyze, you simply exist. She feels that her emotional waves no longer control your brain. And that's when genuine respect is born. Not for your words, not for your looks, but for your inner strength. You stop being the reaction and become the cause. Everything slows down in your presence. You no longer respond to every impulse. You choose what enters your mind. And that ability is rare, almost supernatural. Because in a world where everyone reacts, the conscious man becomes the anomaly. You become a mirror to others, and now their internal mechanisms begin to collapse around you. You influence not with words, not with manipulation, but with frequency. That is the real psychology of influence. Not to convince, not to control, not to dominate, but to be so stable that the world naturally aligns with your energy. You notice how interactions change. People start listening more intently. Women become softer. Men, more respectful. Not because you became someone else, but because you stopped being a reaction to someone else's emotions. That's how you leave the game. The invisible game where attention is power and emotion is control. You see the field, you see the moves, and you simply don't play. You realize no one controls you but you. Not women, not society, not instinct, just you and your mind. And when you finally see that, the world becomes transparent. You stop seeing people, you see patterns. Not emotions, but habits. Not words, but the energy behind them. And everything becomes simple. You stop seeking someone to blame. You simply observe. You accept the game, but you're no longer part of it. And in that calmness, a different kind of strength is born. A confidence that needs no validation. It's not loud. It's quiet, like the stillness before a storm. Remember this. A woman can control a man's emotions only as long as he can't control his own. The moment you see that every emotional impulse is not her, but you, the game ends. True power is not in controlling others. It's in being beyond control. Because in the end, the one who controls his emotions controls his reality. And the one who controls his reality becomes free. That's when you stop being a player in manipulation and become the one who sees the game clearly. And everything that once seemed complicated becomes crystal clear. That is true strength.